Hey guys, it's Asif at thinkasif.ca. I've got Eva and Laura from Family Mediation Group here, and we're going to talk about the differences between going through a lawyer or going through mediation, pros and cons, and some of the things that we just didn't know. So welcome, girls. Thank you for joining. So talk to me. What is the difference when someone's going through a divorce? What's the difference between going through a lawyer or a mediation group?
Well, the differences are immense. I think me and Laura can pretty much agree, right?
Okay.
We could talk forever.
We could talk forever on this topic because we're so passionate about it.
Okay.
There's huge cost consequences between going to court versus settling in mediation.
Okay.
Huge. There's also a big component about what information you have available. So in mediation, it can be a little bit more holistic versus in court, it's very dry to the bone. Also, we can be much more creative in mediation. So we can kind of start there in those different areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with what can be disclosed and what can't be disclosed. I think confidentiality was something we chatted about. Tell me about that.
So in mediation, you have 100%, hopefully, privileged conversation and confidentiality. So all the discussions are protected by the agreement that you sign right at the onset of entering mediation process. Very rare is that there is a mediation that it's called open mediation. So there's a mediator who does a report at the end. But those are very high conflict, very rare cases, and I don't think we will
typically
ever
those cases end up in court.
End up in court, or they come from court into mediation, and the next step is back in court.
The majority is they're completely confidential sessions because we want people to be able to come up with ideas on how to settle. And then what we don't want is for someone to use that against you if you did go in court and say, "Oh, well, he offered me $1 for the matrimonial home, so now why is he putting up a fight?" No, it's completely confidential, so you have the flexibility to come up with different ideas and say what you want at the mediation table.
Okay, so on the opposite side of that, within the lawyer,
the opposite side of that is full exposure.
Yeah,
of all of your most private, intimate details of your relationship, of your finances, of your anything. What your neighbor said about it, your romantic life, your affairs, whatever.
Everything in court is public record. And that also includes for the CRA, right? So we get people a ton of times who maybe haven't paid their taxes or are self-employed and maybe aren't reporting their full income. Everything is on the table when you go to court. Also, your personal details, right? And that's searchable by anybody.
So essentially, if I'm going through a divorce or separation and I go through mediation, that's private. Whatever we talk about stays there.
Yeah. Stays there.
If I go through court, that's public record. So Joe off
anybody
the street can look me up and find out any detail they want, every dirty detail they want.
All your income, all your personal relationships, what people have said about you. And remember, in court, people make allegations that may not necessarily be true or may be inflammatory, right? And so you'll see a lot of notable people or people with high-powered jobs don't even step foot in court. Right? Because the allegations can sometimes be so damaging to their professional lives.
Okay. So, wow, I had no idea about that. Let's talk from a cost standpoint. What's the difference between mediation and going through a lawyer? Tell me about the cost.
Well, it can be significant. I mean, we all know what it's like to go to a lawyer. I'm a lawyer, right? I used to take a lot of cases to court. However, there used to be legal aid, so they were much more cost effective. But as a lawyer, I can tell you that when you're going to court, there is an amount of work that is, inconceivable for the lawyer to prepare. And the more work for the lawyer to prepare means the higher cost for the client. So most lawyers charge between $250 to $450 an hour, right? And it costs at least $5,000 each person to just get into court.
Easily, yeah.
And then there's a 9-step process before trial. So if you are one of the unlucky ones to get to trial, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars each. And most lawyers know that if there's a matrimonial home, the clients will have to sell their home in order to pay the lawyer.
Okay, so
that's going to court. That's the financial picture that a lot of people aren't aware of.
What's the low end? What's the high end?
For going to court?
On average, yeah.
Easily.
Our stats are in between 25 to 45 per person.
$1,000.
25,000 to 45,000
per
person.
And that's in legal bills. That's not the money you then have to spend in child support, spousal support, selling your matrimonial home.
That's just to come to a decision.
That's right.
Okay. what's the opposite side of that? What's the mediation side of that?
Yeah. A lot of Laura and I, we have our client files. You can easily settle a file under $5,000 or $6,000. Would you not agree with that?
Combined?
Yeah.
Combined.
Yes.
And what's great about the mediation process is you create essentially how much you're paying, because the easier you are to agree to things as parents or as parties, then the cheaper it's going to be.
And we say that to clients all the time. Even before we start the mediation, we ask them, if you can sit down at your kitchen table anywhere and agree on something, this is going to go much faster. Yeah. Less cost, less everything. And lots of people do have lots of points of agreement. So, there still remains. And what I like about it is that if they can't agree, for example, we have someone who cannot make a decision about whether to get long-term spousal support monthly or lump sum. And that's when we say we can bring in someone from like a financial specialist or a mortgage or whomever. She wants a house as well. So that's something that, a judge wouldn't really care.
You can't do that.
A lawyer wouldn't really care. Like it wouldn't have any, any leg to stand on in that kind of conversation. But for her, it matters. Right. So now this person, with the help of this financial person, will decide whether she wants monthly or a lump sum, and how does that lump sum look like. You cannot do that with a lawyer. The lawyer will just take over everything, and you cannot bring...
Well, in court, the judge... What we say is if you're going to court, a judge is going to make a decision for your family, and then they're going to go home at night to their own family. They don't have to live with the repercussion of that, right? So making you sell off your home, making you roll over your RRSP, making you have to pay spousal support. They make that decision, and then their hands are washed of it, right? Whereas in mediation, we empower you to make your own decisions, and we give you the information, we give you the support and be able to do that, right? Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. From a judge's standpoint or from a lawyer's standpoint, they're not versed in the financial aspects of all this stuff. I mean, they have a high level understanding. So they're making a decision for somebody else or a couple, but they don't have the knowledge to make these decisions, or they don't have the expertise. So they're basically saying, this is what you should do. I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is what you got to do.
They're talking from the perspective of legal entitlement.
Yeah.
So they're saying, this is what you're entitled to. This is what the law says, and this is what cases have done. So this is what you're getting. They're not looking at your financial picture. They're not looking at your emotional well-being and your personal needs and saying, this is what's best for you as a person, as Eva. They're saying, well, you're an applicant. This is a divorce. This is what you're entitled to. And that's that. That's their job. Right? But what we hear from families is that that's not enough. Divorce encompasses every aspect of your life. And so the decisions that you should make and the consequences that come from that should reflect that. And that's what we believe.
Well, this is hugely eye-opening because, I mean, what are the stats of divorce in Canada right now?
Well, we have in general population, it's about 47 to 50. In other populations, like for example, police forces, the rate is 80% divorce.
Whoa.
Yeah, police, EMT, and firefighters have an 80% divorce rate. Also, in different areas, right? So, like a place like California has almost an 80% divorce rate. So it has a lot to do with different jurisdictions. For us, it's about 50, and it's wide-ranging. So we have clients in their late 20s, young parents that are coming, that are just starting their lives over, really, right? And then we have, on the opposite end, we have people in their 70s. And I've even heard of cases in their early 80s, well into retirement, and they have very specific needs, right?
So this is not even a topic that is just for a small niche group. This is applicable to half the population in the country.
Totally.
Right? And then, I mean, they may not be coming out public with it, but there's something going on, and they're thinking about it. So this is relevant information. And just... Again, eye-opening in the sense that you could spend that much money going through the legal system versus going through mediation, and then how they treat you. And then the fact that what's confidential and what's not confidential, these are all things that I guess your everyday consumer, everyday person does not know.
That's right.
Wow, this is huge. So listen, I appreciate you guys taking the time talking about all this stuff. We've got a lot of other topics to talk about, but thank you for joining, and we'll see you guys at the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.